right, we are back again. The Wicked Awesome Report, broadcasting every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. or 10-ish, depending on how many technical difficulties we have to get going. Joined with my co-host here, Declan O'Toole from Select Real Estate in Boston. And we're also joined with a special guest here, Eugene Duffy, who is the Director of Emergency Services at South Shore Hospital. So we're going to be talking about, thoughts from the front line, the pandemic, what from a professional that's seeing it all day, every day, what's really going on. So if you want to be in the know for future shows, do have a Facebook page, Wicked Awesome Report. Have a look at that. Give us a like. We're broadcasting this on all of our personal timelines, but check out the Facebook page and be alerted for future shows when they come up. So thank you, Declan, for joining us.
Thanks, Patrick.
And thank you very much, Eugene, for coming on and being on the broadcast.
Thanks for having me.
And you're looking sharp there, fully decked out in your uniform.
I washed it especially for you.
All right, thank you. All your dress whites. So, Eugene, Director of Emergency Services at South Shore Hospital. That sounds like a very important, serious title. So what's going on with that? What does that job entail? Are you really just driving around in the rigs all day in the ambulance, or what exactly are you doing as the director?
Yeah, we do that too. But so my job here is I oversee the EMS operations here at South Shore Hospital. And also a newly formed division called Mobile Integrated Health, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I oversee all emergency services operations here, and that's from a 911 perspective in the town of Weymouth to all of the medical transportation within the health system here at South Shore. We also oversee a communication center, which is an emergency dispatch center that's also located here that we work with in collaboration with the police department for 911 calls and things like that. So wear many hats.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on there. And you're no stranger to being front page in the news. I've seen you in the news recently, some of the new rigs and the new paint jobs on some of those rigs to stand out, and some of the other new programs that you've rolled out there at the hospital. So definitely making some huge strides under your leadership. So congratulations on all that success and doing what you're doing to serve the public here on the South Shore.
Yeah, I mean, healthcare is changing. It's going to change even more so now. And so, as EMS is really at the tip of the spear on this pandemic and in general. And so we have to be able to adapt, be innovative, think of things differently. The days of kind of you dial 911, you call, we haul, that's changed. It's not sustainable. And so we have to think of different models of care and how we can take care of a population rather than that individual, you call, we come. As always, if people dial 911, of course, absolutely, we're going to come and take care of people the best way we can, as we always do. But we do have to think about it a little bit differently now and definitely going forward.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute then, Eugene. So the EMS, the EMTs that are on the rig, someone calls 911, they show up to your house. What are the EMTs doing to protect themselves, but also protect the person that's calling for help and the people that are in that home or at that location? I'm assuming they're coming out fully decked out and all the PPE gear and stuff like that, but tell us what that looks like, because if you're calling for help and you're just an average citizen and you see someone walk in and close to a hazmat suit, that can make a stressful situation even more stressful. So tell the public what they can expect if they are calling looking for help.
Yeah, so it really starts at the point of the call. So that the time somebody dials 911, the first interaction with an emergency dispatcher is really where it all starts. And they have a predetermined script of questions that they ask callers. And I always say to people, please be patient with the dispatchers. They're asking specific questions for a reason. But simultaneously, the ambulances are already on the way. So it's not like the person who's answering the phone is the person who's going to show up at your house. That's not the case. So oftentimes we experience people trying to get off the phone, thinking that it creates time for us and expedites the process. It doesn't. And so what happens at that point is they ask scripted questions related to fever, cough, if you've been quarantined, if you've been near people. They ask the routine questions that I'm sure everybody is hearing in the news or everywhere you go in the community. A lot of those questions are asked beforehand and are updating the crews while they're responding to any emergency. So, however, we are, from a response perspective, pretty much every case we are considering COVID until proven otherwise. The numbers are just so high currently that that has to be the case, that we have to consider it COVID just for our own safety and for our patients' safety.
Of course, yeah. I mean, your guys and gals on the front line that are out there responding, they got to protect themselves too. Because if they get sick, if they come down with something, how the hell can they be out there, serving the community if they're down themselves?
Eugene, have you had other members of your crews that have actually come down with COVID that you know personally?
Yeah, we have. And so, the numbers within the health system itself, we do have employees that have been tested positive for COVID. But again, I think with all the measures we put in place, both here within the health system and within the EMS system, where we're in our personal protective equipment, we're hypersensitive to this. There's cleaning going on a daily basis. There's such a stringent process with your PPE and your own personal protective equipment that the likelihood of getting it here is pretty slim because of all of these measures that are put in place. And it may be more likely that you contracted somewhere else. It's kind of like that rule of thirds, where you have a third of a chance of getting it at work, a third of it at home, and then a third of it in a communal social gathering, right? And we kind of feel like the third piece that we have here at South Shore and within the EMS division, we're putting all these measures in place that it's probably unlikely that it's contracted there, unless there's an issue with PPE or whatever, but it is unlikely.
Yeah, well, the PPE and the shortage of PPE has been, frontline news. Shout out to Mr. Kraft and the Patriots organization for doing what they can to get some more supplies. How is your staff, equipped? Are you seeing those shortages? Do you think your staff has enough equipment to be able to deal with that? As members of the general public, is there anything that we can do to help and support that effort to, keep the crews safe?
Yeah, I think the challenge with PPE is real. Thankfully, and I never say we're in a good position, we're in an okay position with respect to PPE because supply chain demands change essentially on a day-to-day basis. And we do have a wonderful community who, we have donations coming here on a daily basis from people who done masks, shields, people who make cloth masks, all those. We have many different people looking to donate, and it's all appreciated and used. But I think the supply chain demands are real for sure. We see it. What the concern yesterday may not be the concern today.
Sure.
And it is all around, gowns, masks, surgical masks. The supply chain demands change on a daily basis.
Right, absolutely. So let me shift gears a little bit here. So we're talking specifically up to this point about your department, your crew, and what they're facing. I want to talk about sort of the big picture here, and not trying to back you into a corner with any stats or anything like that. Simply just an opinion. Okay, so the way I see any major issue, there are basically three sides to it. Okay, the two extremes, and usually the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Okay, so with the pandemic, I see people on one extreme that are saying, well, it's all bullshit. This is just not real. People are really not that sick. It's just the flu, get over it. And then at the other extreme, you have people that maybe are sort of cowering in the corner and fearful and don't want to leave their home, don't want to call for help for emergency services if and when they really need it. And again, I think the truth is maybe somewhere in between. So what, being on the front lines and seeing what's going on, being in the hospital, talk to us about that. What do you think is real? What's the real story?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm probably in your camp as well, where I'm in the middle. I say to people who think that there's nothing to this, people are welcome to come and hang out with me for a day to see how real it is. And I think, regardless of where you are, I think the numbers really speak for themselves. And I can only really speak for our own organization here when I hear the numbers of patients that are here in our ICU and on our ventilators, or the number of critically ill patients we respond to. That's tangible for me. That's real. And it is real. Now, thankfully, I think we're over the peak. It certainly kind of feels that way here. And we're on that downward slope. But again, I don't mean to be kind of political on this, but we really can't let our foot off the gas with respect to how we socially distant, wash your hands, the simple measures that are in place that really are not that, impactful to people. Maybe the socially distanced piece is, but the measures really have to stay in place so that those numbers keep trending down. So, I'm with you. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I have seen the peak of this, and that's real for families that are here, for families that have not been able to be with their loved ones when tragedy strikes. That's a real challenge.
And so, what do you see in terms of the hospital in general? We'll say the occupancy or capacity of the hospital. Are you guys busting at the seams? Are there free beds? Is there, from your perspective, is there a concern that somebody needs that medical attention, that whether it's COVID related or not, that they can come to the hospital and get treated? But what do you see happening?
Yeah. So I've already done kind of a public service announcement on this point where please don't wait. If you have a medical emergency, it is safe. It's okay to be here. Like I talked about, all the measures that are put in place here to make sure patients are safe, employees are safe. We are here. We're ready to take care of patients. Our emergency department is open. And so what we have found is people probably waiting too long to call or come for help, and patients are sicker. And so our plea really is that the hospital is here, we're open, we're ready to take care of patients. If you feel like that you have an illness, it's okay to call, it's okay to come. All the safety measures and cleaning and everything else is in place here. So my plea on it would be, please don't wait.
Yeah, so I guess the PSA there is, in any normal circumstances, if you're going to dial 911 because you need help,
call it.
And continue to do that and dial 911.
Absolutely, 100%.
And it may not be this handsome man you see on the screen that's going to show up on your door, but someone from his crew certainly will be able to help you.
They absolutely will, and that's regardless of where people are. Emergency services are here and ready to respond regardless of what the current situation is.
Yeah, well, I mean, personnel, this is what you do. This is what the guys and gals are trained for.
Exactly right.
All right, cool. So now, one of the things you mentioned there is a good segue to my next question. You mentioned that you think that maybe we're sort of past the peak here, and maybe on the downside. What about Massachusetts? The current plan right here to open up. We're in Declan and I talked about it last week. The 4-stage, 4-phase plan to reopen. Have you seen that? So number one, have you seen it? You're familiar with it?
Yep.
What are your opinions? Is it too much, too little, too early, too late?
Yeah. Again, that's like, I'm in the middle with you, right? I agree that the economy has to open up and we have to get moving. But on the same token, I'm a healthcare professional. Public health is a concern. And so, again, I'm somewhere in the middle where I agree with the cautious steps forward in this. I understand the reason why there's kind of 3 weeks in the gaps between each phase. I understand that and I appreciate that. But I would also say that we have to be cautious as you go along and then watch to see if there are any spikes as you go forward in the opening. And again, I think these simple measures of washing your hands, be socially distant, and wear a mask, I think are pretty simple measures to keep the public safe. So I'm in the middle on it, but I agree with being cautious on how it gets opened up.
Eugene, kind of to that, we've talked about the curve and flattening out the curve, and it feels like it's starting to flatten out here. Do you, as a hospital, given that people are going back, and I'd imagine you got phases where, excuse me, a little bit of planning ahead, and I'm certainly not looking for specifics. For instance, if kids are back in September, then maybe November, might be expecting that you might get another rush and maybe have to prepare for the PPE and everything else that comes with it. Yeah,
so that's all part of our kind of reopening strategy here. And we are very concerned about a second spike in the fall flu season. So yeah, we're absolutely kind of planning for that and expecting it, to be honest. So it's part of the phased opening here to ensure that we're prepared for when that happens.
Sure. So, so I'll throw out an opinion that I have, and Declan and I talked about it on last week's show. We're talking about the phases reopening. We've got long weekend coming up here, Memorial Day. And part of the phased opening is, beaches, parks, public spaces, open areas. I think that is going to be an interesting sort of line in the sand. And unfortunately, we're not really going to know how successful or unsuccessful, good or bad it was until probably a couple of weeks after that, as people maybe become ill and start to get tested. We may see a mini spike after that with people right now cabin fever. People
can't wait to get out and can't wait to meet people. So
they're just sick and tired of staying in their home, and we've got some nice weather and it's a long weekend. Well, sure, yeah, let's go out to the beach, let's go to the park, let's go out and play ball. And I think that we're going to see a lot of people that maybe unfortunately let their guard down a little bit. Because they've been pent up for so long that cabin fever and just get out and want to be around other people. I see that as sort of being a mini test case is not really the right word, but a mini sort of preview of what may be coming as the next phases open up. Do you think that's a fair assessment? That's sort of a testing ground, if you will?
Well, it is. I think just back to the point of it being a 3-week time period on these phases, particularly going into this weekend, it's going to be key and crucial to see what happens with the numbers 2 weeks from now. But again, even just looking at the numbers from yesterday, still, I think 1,000+ patients that are still testing positive, and there are still deaths that are happening. So, you mentioned about letting your guard down. You can't let your guard down. Do what you can to be socially distant. And I understand being pent up. And listen, I'm there too, right? My family, wife, daughters are pent up, particularly with the fact that I'm here. So I understand it completely, and there has to be a balance somewhere. It's so hard to kind of determine what that balance is. You have to be smart about it.
Yeah. So, Eugene, I want to be a good steward of your time here. You've been very generous to come on with us for a little bit here. So before I wrap up, Declan, any other questions for Eugene?
No, just I suppose a quick one is you mentioned your family. Do you have to take extra precautions as given what the nature of what you do when you come home in terms of distancing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it probably, yeah, we do. So, you know, you've probably seen the videos. You know, my kids don't get a hug and a kiss when I get home. They have to wait till I take off this, as Pat calls my dress whites. But yeah, so you know, you get home and change out of all of this gear and shower or wash your hands or whatever, and then it's try to get back to normal with the family. But yeah, there is, you know, you don't just walk in and give your kids a hug and a kiss like you used to.
All right. So takeaways from the show that I see here are the emergency professionals, emergency service professionals are available. They are working. They will come to you when you call 911. They're going to ask a little bit more, a few more questions on the phone before they show up. But that's really to better protect the general public and themselves. So don't wait until it's too late. If you would normally dial 911 prior to the pandemic because you have an issue, continue to do that now. It's the same sort of protocol. Call 911 when you need help. And when that's not the case, not in dire need of emergency services, take the precautions, wash your hands, wear the masks, socially distancing, because there are issues that are happening out there, and hospitals are really dealing with patients that are suffering from this. It's not, the one end of the scale. It's not a load of crap. People aren't just making this stuff up. It's really happening.
Yeah. And I would just add to it, and that even from a hospital perspective, don't delay care. Contact your provider, whether it's your primary care or specialist. And a lot of healthcare systems, regardless of where it is, but including here, telemedicine is a big thing that's here now. We're doing it. We're Zooming right now. We have providers that will provide telehealth to patients, and so that's an option for people, and I think it's going to be a bigger option kind of in the future. So again, just to echo your point, please don't wait.
Yeah, if you need the help, you got to call out and ask for the help. Don't be afraid. These are the medical professionals that have been trained to work in these kind of environments. They're taking every precaution so that they're safe and they're able to keep you safe. So if you need the help, reach out, and don't wait until it's too late because you're critical. I mean, these are the pros that are on the front lines to help you in these situations.
Exactly right.
So Eugene Duffy, Director of Emergency Services at South Shore Hospital, consummate pro. I appreciate your time here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for your service, Eugene, as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being on the front lines for all of us. Stay safe. Regards to the family. Hope everybody is well and stays well. This has been another edition of the Wicked Awesome Report. Patrick Queally from Hancock Mortgage, my co-host Declan O'Toole from Select Real Estate, and our special guest Eugene Duffy, Director of Emergency Services at the South Shore Hospital. We broadcast live every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. If you have a business or have something that you'd like to share with the general public, always looking for additional guests to come on and join us. Just reach out, do us a favor, comment, like, share, help get the word out about the show. And until next broadcast, hope everybody stays awesome. Take care. I'll just end the live broadcast here, guys, and then we'll wrap up.